break also. So we'll try to wind up by 3:45, something like that. So, uh, last two sessions, if we look back, just to recap, to connect back, we looked at the concept of personality, theory of personality from different schools: trait school, type school, humanistic perspective, behavioristic perspective, social learning perspective. So we looked at different schools of personality. Then we looked at the main part is the Freud aspect. The first session we looked at different theories, covering especially first starting with Sigmund Freud theory of personality, how id, ego, and superego. So based on the different principles. One is ideological principle, gratification principle. Then we looked at the psychosexual developmental stages of the child, how in each stage, when the fixation happens, so at oral stage, at different stages, what would be the kind of neurotic kind of tendencies or implication on the personality when he becomes the adult. So then we looked at ego defense mechanisms, different like depersonalization, right? Suppression, projection. So all those ego defense mechanisms we looked at in the first session. Second session, it was a more we didn't, it was a very brief. It was not a 2 hour one. In an 1 hour in a rush, I had to push things. So second session, we looked at the major two components. So, one is the structural model of social foundation theory of personality. Then we looked at the Sullivan theory of personality, how personifications. So hope you can remember how different kinds of personifications comes in terms of development of the different aspects of personality, right? So looking at the self, right? So when we say talk about the uh, three components, when we according to Sullivan's theory, so we have three levels of a way of perceiving things. So one is the protaxic, sorry, prototaxic type, parataxic type, synaptics type. So which we looked into kind of in part. So when we talk about the based on the level of cognition, on the way how we perceive things, right? So these are the kind of in three types. So at prototaxic level, so it is a primitive experience from the infancy stage, experience that which you are not able to communicate. So it's like or articulate, which is that is referred as protaxic newborn infants when they look at different images, the colorful bus. So we looked into that. Then we looked at the second more parataxic, which is Sulaiman referred as erroneous assumption. Could be not able to accurately communicate, but there will be some pointers, right? So experience that can be properly communicated, so that becomes a synaptics, the syntactic kind of an approach in communicating the primitive personal experiences. So, three components what Sullivan's concept, the personality emphasized is dynamism, personification, and self system. So, we looked at the different components of dynamism: the dejective, conjective, isolatic dynamism, and personification, how we personify our experiences. Like cognitively we evaluate, no? So that this is bad part of me, this is good part of me, this is not me. So all this certain the not me is something pushed towards the unconscious part of the personality element. So then we looked at different kind of developmental epoch of Sullivan. So like in each stage wise, so we looked at that person. So today, important one theory that we are looking at is the Albert Bandura social learning theory, or also it is also referred as social cognitive theory. So let me share my slide. So, few of them were last session without slides had a difficulty uh, in terms of connecting with the thought. So we'll make sure ensure that it is being addressed. So social cognitive theory. Hope it is visible on the screen. In this session, today's class, we'll be focusing on what are the different constructs. Experiment. There's one famous experiment that is the key foundation of the theory. Strength of this particular theoretical framework, limitations, and what would be the classroom implications. Right. So, social cognitive theory is also referred as social learning theory. So, Albert Bandura, so he developed social cognitive theory, which, according to him, so the learning happens in a social context. So that you can't deny the interaction of the person, environment, and the behavior. So it is very reciprocal. So when we talk about the individual behavior or a personality, so that is governed by two components. Is like one is the personal factors like cognitive, affective, and biological, which is the internal core. We can say that internal world of an individual, and the external world is what we look at the environmental factors. So, what are the personal? Yes, personal factors include knowledge, expectation, attitude, aptitude, talent, all those kind of personal factors. Environmental factors are the social norms, do's and don'ts, influence of others. Right. Today we have to connect with today's perspective. In YouTube, we have a concept known as influencer. So, a person and in YouTube who gets the silver status, gold status. Now there is one new word has come, some blue ink, something one who has more this number of followers. So I mean, this much of amount is being uh, paid from the YouTube itself. So influencers, right? So ability to change the environment. And today the mediated platform have become a kind of it's a huge potential area of study, human computer interaction and mediated platform. How the identity forms on a digital platform, and how people present and their projected self on this mediated platform. Imagine people, for example, an Instagram person who strictly follows their social networking and to promote their one particular statement, or to become more influencer or get that kind of a fan following kind of a thing. So they are today most of the even the US universities and research people, behavioral research scientists, are concerned to know about what is their youth aspiration. So one of the aspiration is to become an influencer on a YouTube. So because it's a very easy, very quick way to become earn money. Second, people are there is one place in Las Vegas, what we call it as the pink wall. So just to take a photo, people travel all the way from the world around the world to take a selfie there. So that's how the environmental factors do influence on others, depending upon the change environment, which you can't actually ignore it. So that is one part. And behavioral factors like skills, practice, one's individual efficiency, that is also component. When you ask me what is the difference between the personal and behavioral component, the personal is the innate part, and behavioral it is what from your practice and the way that you acquired. One is ascribed and another is acquired. So the unique feature of social cognitive theory talks about social influence and how each individual or picks up a particular skill set or practice or efficacy based on the social environment. So that's why we had kind of a certain, if you look at the family businesses, if you think an artisan or a jewelry maker, he picks up from the family environment because it's the skill and self-efficacy compared to taking a jewelry course in somewhere. And if you compare to them both, it's like the hands-on expertise is much more. So the family business comes from the generation, as well as the social environment have enabled them to equip the perfect knowledge and experience towards it. So now coming to the goal of social cognitive is to how people regulate the behavior through control and reinforcement to achieve the goal directed behavior over a period of time, because of these norms actually any a family institution or a community as an institution, there are set of collectivism approach that comes in. It is not the individual; it's more collectivist kind of an approach. So how we can be regulate those behavior, which is for the collective good, right? So, what is the definition of social cognitive theory? So, according to Albert Bandura, so it's here based on the concept of how the learning is affected by three component cognitive, behavioral, and environmental factors in the context of traditional psychological theories. So, Albert Bandura views that the learning phenomena can occur by through observation of other people's behavior. If you go to there is a you might have heard about a very famous school in New Delhi, which is founded by Sri Arbindo and mother Meera Alfasa. So what we call it as Meera International, Meera National School, which is founded. So there, the teachers, especially because they follow an experimental, experiential based school curriculum. So there, according to integral education philosophy, the foundation is there is no tests, so there is no assessment. So everything is based on observation. So the teachers are given, especially integral education teachers have given will be given very exhaustive training only to observe the students, so that you create, because here the teacher can't teach any content. You can't teach any content to anyone. Rather than the teacher acts as a facilitator in connecting what is the learner's requirement by putting the resources in place, so that the learner picked up organically, naturally, based on his ability. So that's the core philosophy of integral education. So why I'm trying to connect here is because the social cognitive theory is focused more on observational components. So until unless you observe the environmental, the interaction between the environment and people, so you will not be able to understand the learning needs of a learner. So that's the part. So Albert Bandura, he looks at the social cognitive theory in two major components, that is inactive and vicarious learning. So, inactive learning refers to the what occurs by doing through experience, that you, it's like through one action that you do, and you will be having some favorable outcomes and unfavorable outcomes. So, based on that, you learn certain. Okay, this is how I need to fine tune the outcomes. So that is one part. So there is a sequence, there is an order, right? So vicarious learning, which occurs as a result of observing other person experience or consequences, right? So one is based on one's by doing it on oneself. Or second one, it is based on other person experience and consequences. For to give an example, the vicarious learning for it happens in most of the YouTube channels and online marketing, and even stock market also. Vicarious learning will get picked up. Somebody who buys this much amount of stock share, or the drop in the shares, immediately a few people also pull out their shares. Moment when they say that there is a bell is ringing and it is going below the whatever the threshold level. So if the company is sinking, which is beyond some bearable points, everyone will pull out this kind of a thing. Same thing happened with Punjab National Bank. So when the bailout was happening, it's like everyone thought our FD amount would be gone. So everyone is standing in a queue. So the behavior that is picked up based on the consequence and the outcome, because of the whatever the bailing out of Punjab National Bank, everyone were standing trying to, okay, this is what the consequence. So I need to. So they pick up the result of that. So that kind of in behavior we refer as and vicarious learning. Okay.
Ma'am, sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
Can we say that inactive learning happens in subconscious mind, and like it just happens, right? Because of experience, what we are doing, and that vicarious learning,
Hmm.
yeah, takes place with the conscious mind.
Vicarious learning takes place with conscious mind, yes, 100%.
And
Everything
inactive
here happens
learning
because when we
takes,
say social
yeah,
cognitive theory, yes, it is the conscious experience is the core.
correct. Like what you are doing, I'm observing, right?
Yeah.
But inactive learning, we can say that it takes
No, it's
place with,
not inactive, inactive. So,
by default we are learning that.
Pardon,
right?
ma'am? Yes, you are. You are.
Right. So I feel like this happens with subconscious mind also.
See, ma'am, that is correct. That will happen. It's like one till unless you rehearse those steps. So that's how you become perfect. That's like you have probably have you are trying a new cooking
Correct.
mixture, right? So you know which ingredient goes how much, right? So you know the consequence of action. This is like if you add a little bit of butter or if you add a little bit of salt. So what is going to be the outcome? So that's his inactive learning. But vicarious learning is other way around, based on the outcome. So you pick up those aspects. Yeah, it's just like okay, somebody says this is the best recipe you tried. So you try the recipe instead of putting yourself
Effort. Yeah. I got it, ma'am.
first.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Okay. So based on the above discussions, learning which has come out from the ideas of people, watching what others do, and human thought process is the center of understanding personality. So it's based on observation. So what are the theoretical constructs in cognitive theory? So first five constructs which was proposed by Bandura, and later it was added the concept of self-efficacy, and it is being added. The first component is reciprocal determinism. So this is the central concept of social cognitive theory. What is reciprocal determinism? So, where an individual who has a set of collective experiences, then you have an environment or the or social cultural as a one context. Another is the behavior, which is goal directed behavior, which steers towards or in response to the stimuli that act upon. So there is a reciprocal dynamism, which is all three are dynamic and reciprocally interacts. So the individual, environment, and the behavior. So when we say individual means the person who which comes with the past experience or learned experience, one side. The present behavior, which is how I going to respond to the stimuli, and the environment. All three are dynamic and reciprocal in nature. So that is the reciprocal determinism. That is the first construct of the social learning theory. The second construct of social learning theory is behavioral capability. So this refers to the person's actual ability to perform a behavior through essential knowledge and skills. So in order to successfully perform a behavior, so like a jewelry maker, right? You should know. So what is the metallurgy components, a pure gold, or how to do it, at what melting point he has to take out the gold, and what are the other mixtures that goes with which gives the stability to the gold. So what to do and how to do it, everything he should have that. And the people learn from the consequence of the behavior. This is where through experiential parts like observe and experience, so people learn, which also affects the environment in which they live. So behavioral capability includes the essential knowledge and skills, and through the environment in which they live, also if, gives contribute towards the individual's capability. And coming to the behavioral capability, after then, the third component which comes is the observational learning. So observational learning is what through modeling. So it's like probably you might be having your own role model first at your childhood. Your grandparents would be a model, or if your friend would be a classmate would be a model, right? Something which is you can witness and observe their behavior. Your teacher would be a model, so that you reproduce those actions, probably the way, say, the same way how they fold the bed sheet, or it could be the same way the cooking. So it is often exhibited through a kind of an similar behaviors. So individuals see successful demonstration of a behavior, they complete the behavior successfully. So now through observational learning. So this is what happens through with teacher, with mother, or with a close friend, or with the grandparents through modeling of the behavior. So people witness and pick up behaviors that is influences them. Coming to the reinforcement, so this is like we looked at the Third construct of social learning theory, behavioral capability second, observational learning through modeling. So that is a third construct. And the fourth one is reinforcement. So reinforcement means you should either to do a social any observation, or you want to model. There could be something that actually have positively attached to, not attached to, the positively some connection, right? So that connection probably we can put it in terms of the reinforcement in two levels: one at internal and external response to a particular behavior that affects him likely to continue, model or discontinue that behavior. So reinforcement can be self-initiated, or it could be influenced from the environment, or the reinforcement can be positive or negative, right? Every time when a child cooks, like if the child reinvents the recipe of a grandmother, a lot of reinforcement appreciation happens within the family. So that I'm just giving an example in a context. The same thing, if and when there is a reinforcement from when you're following some good practices from your teacher, so and it is being appreciated from the parents, so that is a kind of a positive reinforcement. So this either through environment or through the person behavior, and that is when we say negative reinforcement could be in terms of the bad influences for even in getting into a wrong gang. So you can say is now today's most of the reinforcement of wrong to give so like gaming, what we call it as violent gaming, which is happening through mediated platforms. So youngsters are so much people are so much young mind, especially the school children, are so much addicted to the video gaming, so they always constantly looking for reinforcement for them to stick on to it. So that's a kind of a negative reinforcement for an example, right? So environment, so parents which who give because they might have seen parent all the time sticking to the mobile when there is a social conversation supposed to happen within the family. Even the child similarly picks it up. Okay, when something is serious happening, mobile has to be in the hand, whether how far it is going to enable him, or but that's what they saw, so they pick it up directly, so that becomes a reinforcement as well. Okay, so coming to the next part of the construct is expectation. So expectation refers to the anticipated concept where you anticipate to simply to demonstrate how we anticipate it happens in our cognitive level. For example, let me ask any of the students here the word. We can take up. I'll just type it here. So one second. This is there is one word. Luminous. So probably everyone can see the word luminous. What is the meaning of luminous, which comes in your mind? Anyone, please type.
Bright.
That which gives
Your light
that which gives light.
Bright.
shines.
Very nice.
Illuminating.
Help shining.
Next. Okay. Shiny, bright, light. Anyone from the class? Because we are social scientists, so that is very important. Luminous. Anyone?
Energy.
Energy. Okay.
I think it's the knowledge because self-luminous means something that comes from within. I think
Yeah.
it's knowledge as far as the psychology is concerned.
Yeah.
To en-
Thank you,
to
sir. Bringing the
enlighten
context is very important. So
to enlighten somebody.
to enlighten somebody again. So, see, this is the one small demonstration. Let me share. I think everyone are able to see the meaning of luminous. I have taken Webster dictionary, the proper translation part. So, what the theory says, this is like, see, we have a expectation which we anticipate the consequence. So it's like most of the words that is being anticipated from the group. When I asked what is luminous, yes, light, whatever. If you take the context, social context, cultural, which what sir precisely told, since we are social scientists, yes, something coming from inner experience. So the actual meaning and the anticipated meaning, there is a distance. So most of the for reading exercises when we take, we have to go meaning word by word, especially even in psychology also. Wrong most of the time we anticipate the meaning of the words, and we easily tend to understand those concepts based on our own internal interpretation of those words, which is a wrong, not wrong practice, but one need to be observant and eliminate those experiences so that you can have a very good, perfect experience, not perfect, but a precise way of understanding the concepts as well. So this is just an example of a demonstration. Like, one second, let me share the PPT. See, the assumed interpretation from the class. So when I throw, so energy came, that also came. So people anticipate. Heli Krishna Navara? Alida. So people anticipate, sorry for the disturbance. So people anticipate consequences for the successful completion of the behavior, means because I have asked some questions, you need to respond. So yes, you anticipate. So sometimes we'll anticipate based on our previous experience. Few of them responded based on the previous experience, and expectancies focus on the value is placed on the outcome. So something which is subjective to the individual. Energy, for example, response as an energy. So when I gave in context, so few people pitched in as a kind of a thing. So that's the expectation. So one is anticipated, coming from previous experience, and expectancies. And coming to the last model, what we call it as self-efficacy, right? So that's the last model, which is being added to the latest part of the social learning theory, last construct of the social learning theory. Let me correct it again. So what is self-efficacy? So self-efficacy, a lot of in the literature of organization behavior, HR, this particular variable, this particular construct have been studied extensively on even in educational psychology also, or self-efficacy of the student, self-efficacy of the employee. So self-efficacy is the belief on one's ability. It's like ability to organize, execute particular sources, and manage the prospective situation. So that is referred as self-efficacy. A lot of studies have gone from, especially in the year of 1990s to 2000, gamut of research has gone in this particular area. So according to Bandura, so where it talks about the theory of planned behavior. So that comes in the field of like when you study organization behavior and organization design. So when you are developing a particular intervention program or a training and development program, so you have a kind of a set of series how you are planned towards the developing new capabilities. So that particular theory has been used, one of the application in management as well. So that is all about self-efficacy. So belief on your capabilities to organize and execute. So that a belief component is referred as self-efficacy. So now let's focus on Bobo-Doll experiment. So this is a particular how it's a real image that was used in the bubble doll experiment. So we'll get into this, what happened in this bubble doll experiment. So the experiment focused on how modeling teaches general rules and strategies for dealing with different situations. So what happens is like Bandura, so like along with his colleagues Ross conducted a series of experiment which is an inflated toy with among 72 students from Stanford University Nursery School with an age group of 3 to 6 years. So they have two groups, experimental and control group. So the experimental group was made up of 48 students, in which 24 of them are exposed to an aggressive model and kind of an approach, and 24 students non-aggressive model of kind of a thing. So the control group was made. So the outcome of the study modeling, it was done on first stage, where 12 boys and 12 girls watched the male female model behaving aggressively towards the handling the doll for 10 minutes, and the adults attacked the Boba doll in a kind of an distinctive manner, with a hammer or a harsh way, and threw the Boba doll in the air. Coming then the second stage, so again another set of students were exposed to non-aggressive way, where they went and played with the doll. So finally, the last stage were used as a control group. So they are not exposed to any model at all. So, so the question is here. So it is very clear. Can any participants from here contribute? Already few of them are practitioners. You might have seen across. Can make the class session a little bit more interactive. So, do you think the violence that children observe on television, movies, video games lead them to behave aggressively? Anyone?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am. It
Yes.
does.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So that
There
is
are
a
two components.
yes, and
One is
correct. If
so
someone
it is also a child who has a tendency for violence is
yes,
also attracted to a certain kind of programs and
true.
play.
Yeah, that's a risky behavior which need to be kept check on. So here comes the academic counselor, child developmental psychologist, who need to work on identifying those risky or potential risk behaviors. So few intervention mechanisms. Most of the schools, they have already started integrating, and now new education policy have come in, focusing with holistic development, so that these issues are can be handled, because too much of focus on cognitive development of a child and less focus on vital component of the child. Because if you look at the current our education, especially secondary school and primary school education structure, the emphasis is more towards the cognitive development of the child, to make them competitive rat race के लिए is like you have to pick up those skill set. But the complete holistic development, right from the physical, vital is the emotional expressing the emotions. That is very much important. Most of the children's coming from home, there would be like, especially children's coming from middle class and lower middle class, the troubled parents would be there, so the like suppressed emotions would be there, coming from a kind of an fight or a single parent child. So they don't know how to articulate the emotion and pour out. That the witness of the violence itself leads to a lot of blockages in communicating, expressing, or putting their vital energy out from the personality. So those blockages has to be understood first, then has to be addressed in a stepwise manner. And this is vital component. Then comes the mental component, in terms of, yes, the syllabus are good, the course content is good, so we don't need to talk about that. Then comes the the psychic component of the child. When we say psychic, means it's the personality, which talks about the character, building the character. Then the spiritual component of the child. So all these five development: physical, vital, mental, psychic, and the spiritual component. Spiritual means it's thinking beyond self. That's it. I don't want to stick it, but to any particular part that is not religiosity, but spiritual component is more beyond me. So something which is collective good. So those components have to be given. So that's very important. So the outcome of baby doll experiment, so they found that, so the aggressive action had an kind of certain children picked up those components, and leading to aggression. So result, the children who were exposed to the aggressive model performed aggressive behaviors, and the girls in aggressive model showed more physical aggressive response. If the model was made, this model was a male, but more verbal aggressive response is found. So that's, and boy imitated more physical aggression acts than girls. That's a very it could be it could be the physical strength also, or but gender is a component that also comes in a factor, so which vice versa, based on the cultural context it vary. So that's the outcome of the study. So now, what is the strength of a social cognitive theory? So according to her, says like the strength is it's a great deal of learning to understand how learning occurs from watching. So what do you watch? Right from the newspaper that you read, the TV news channel that you watch, the mediated platform, either it is Netflix. Today we have OTT platforms. Today we have to deal with media, what we call it as, earlier we used to talk about pollutions at 5 levels, right? Water pollution, noise pollution, air pollution. So all those, so right. So now we have cloud pollution. So because even whether you want to be there or not there, you get the information which is not relevant to you. So we call it a so-called information-centric world and digitized, but the cloud pollution that you have to handle. So all those OTT platforms, how me and violent video games, and even for example the candy games, lot of candy games. So game addiction, mobile addiction is one of the key concerns now. Now the mental health professionals are actually handling finding difficult to put a good family therapy in place, because the mobiles are taking away the quality time of the parents, and the addictions are taking away the actual nature of the child, which is supposed to be child. So these are the concerns. So yes, the strength. So how importance of control, right? So when you are that's why we have a good concept from right from our so a few things, practices, do's and don'ts. So parental control, control means it's not authoritative, but there is a need, you should have that kind of an danda. So the control, danda means it's not punishment. So in the Indian context, danda, again you are clearly defining it is the discriminatory knowledge of what I am supposed to do and not to do. So that kind of in control should be it is observed through the learning. So that has to be, so it rightly, right, as precisely said, the culture, the environment comes a very important, a big way in contributing or in developing those behavioral components. Fine. So coming to the limitations of the social cognitive theory. So one of the limitation criticisms that the theory is loosely organized, because when we say the dynamic interplay between the person, behavior, and environment, can you pinpoint? It is not linear, right? So it is unclear the extent of which of these factors actually is more influential than other. So that's one of the, so if you're thinking from a reductionist point of view, so if I want to pinpoint because of this particular environmental factor is influencing, when I say while aggression behavior, it is multidimensional. One is the family history, and the personality of the child, and his peer influence. All those comes more influential than other. So pinpointing them, yes, that has its limitation. And the theory heavily focuses on process of learning. So and in doing so, disregards the biological hormonal predisposition. Means the input is not being acknowledged. So that's one of the limitations. The input means whatever the inherited component that we get it based on our past experience. So that is what it is being marginally ignored. So that was the one of the limitation of the social cognitive theory. And other limitations that we find here is that the theory assumes, right? So the theory assumes that the changes in the environment will automatically leads to the changes in the person, but may not be true. So because his internal strength will be able to, so it's like a person who's very how do I say, it's like who has that clarity of understanding of what is good for me and what is not good for me. So that clarity, one who have better clarity, so the environmental factors may not influence. So that is one part. So the theory does not focus on emotion or motivation. So that influences the past experience, because anything that we speak in generally, if you for example, if you do an exercise when you observe your own conversation of you take any 1 hour of a day, and how much of a reference is given to the based on the past. So like this kind of a minimal attention on these factors, what motivates them to give a thorough reference based on the past experience. So those components are not given emphasis. That's what the current other perspectives are telling. So because if you know the motivation, so you will be able to work on it as well. Come on. At the end, the behavioral talks about is a result of modeling, but not genetic, because but both are equal. So, but yes, influences from the environment plays a very important role, especially in the developmental stages. So that is the later may not be the internal and external environment. If you are able to find that how the right way of balancing or harmonious way that you are able to handle both experiences uh, based on your ability and self-efficacy, that's fine and good. But a few of them, each one might be able to acquire that kind of wisdom in the early part of their lifespan or later part of the lifespan. Again, that is one of the limitations. So, what is the implication? So, if you take it from the practice level, right? So, on the practical part, if it is a teacher or a psychologist, right? And there's a child psychologist. So, how I take it the social learning theory into practice? One, for the record. So, for example, teachers can set certain goals to accomplish. So, sit with the children, trying to understand, facilitate them. There is one good practice which I want to share in integral education, because I had closely worked with a couple of few of integral education schools. They have very good and few experimental schools also. They have a good practice of record keeping. Any event that happens or worksheets or tests. So it's not about the test, the right and the response sheet. So after the test, a feedback form will be given to the student to talk about their experience on the test and assessment, because that becomes more important to a child about how he felt in answering those questions. Was he comfortable? Was he confident? Or how was he afraid of anything while recalling a particular concept? So that is what the vital psychic development is being understood as a teacher. So this is where what we call it as the portfolio method. So there's a technique which is being followed most of the experimental schools, where they each subject wise, the class teacher and the facilitator, which I will like take, there's no concept of assessment, but they present when one particular unit is done, one particular concept is taught, the class is over, so then the activity sheet is given. So then the child will be asked to talk about it, or put poster, so something that it helps them to enable or asked to do a micro project, so that they will be part of experiential learning also. So there is a lot of application from social learning theory, social cognitive theory, a lot of applications, innovative, especially in the area of pedagogical sciences, creating curriculum content, experiential learning, so creating innovative practices have been used as a through from the based on the principles of social cognitive theory. So when you are creating a content and learning content for the child, so how children react to the situation also comes from the learnings of social learning theory. So that's one takeaway. Coming to the non-verbal part of communication in the classroom, this is very much important for us professionals. Most of them are from industry as well as academia. So it's not only when we say classroom, no, it's like non-verbal communication is very much important. It's one of the important skill set the World Bank have identified. What are the top 31, 32 skill set is required. Communication is one among them. So students should be able to identify the teachers certain symbols, the good job of when we say good or symbol of when you say, so all those kind of should be observant, the micro movements of the body parts. What is the personal space? So which this is what a good, what is a good distance, right? So it's stressing one particular part. Anyway, we have already in life skills communication also, one of the training package which is being addressed, which is being most of the life skills hacks is what it has been being taught and trained. So teachers can apply this theory for having a watch step by step. So that can be used. Further, a lot of instruction now today, instructional design. So when I say step by step, so instructional design is something. This is one of the applications when they say you can pinpoint. So when you're creating a nano video, so because nowadays that has become one of the trend on an online platform, introducing concepts in 5 minutes or 6 minutes, which captures, because most of the attention span today's of our the millennials is they're very choosy and they want to be very quick. So for them, so we have come up with kind of a concept of nano video where the concepts are introduced in a simplistic way by 5 to 6 minutes, 7 minutes. So there is a step-by-step instructions which is need to be done. So like how to put into the how to use the video. So that is also a part. This theory can be applied. So gamification, virtual platforms, building the learning contents. Yes, application is also there. And along with that, teaching and learning should I forgot. Teaching and learning should be more practical and more experiential, and should be able to connect with the concepts, and you should and build that capability. So that's what the latest national curriculum framework also talks emphasize on it. Okay, now we on the whole, this is like the importance of observation learning is can't uh, uh, keep it away. So this is very important. By observing what elders do, peers do, we tend to imitate them. Hence, children's at young, we need to give them kind of right environment, put them into appropriate rather than into exposing them in appropriate aspects, so that they can pick them and repeat them, and rather than repeat, consciously make a reflection to choose them. So that is the kind of environment is what we need to create, rather than we telling them what they have to do and not to do, rather than creating an environment for them to pick up and reflect whether it is right for me or not for me. This is what the kind of the right learning environment is required, right? So here, so there's an example of today's baby boomers, no? So like so they have to I don't have, so I just, you can see. So you might have seen a lot of YouTube reels also, how children's cute videos, how they pick up. Yeah, I'll stop it. So look at the beauty of the instrument that we have. So we are so blessed to have such a powerful instrument of mind and the cognitive faculty at a tenderly age to pick up certain things, one observation and imitate. So this is the one demonstration that you can, like, you can see how much the capacity that we have, the self-efficacy of the child. So like as a toddler, even it's like the way that it picks up. That's the power of mental faculties that we have. So hope we should be able to understand the importance of the observation, imitation, and the modeling, and how likely that gives important part of personality development. So I will end the session for the today. Class is open
Ma'am,
for questions. Yes.
ma'am, regarding the same video that we watched, I just have a small doubt. Like,
Yes.
watching such things will impact only a child because they are not able to think and process by themselves, or it will impact adults or elderly people also.
Yes. See, the mental faculties from early stage, developmental stage, have less past memories, past experiences. As we grow on, so we have a lot of cognitive structures, mental schemas, past behavior habits do interfere our current learning process. But for a beautiful child like this, there is no interference. There is no forgetting that happens. So like it is a first experience that comes in. All you need to is just to observe and put it in your mind. But as you grow, as a 10, 12 years, is like you have your own paradigms, mental cognitive structures. So you need to unlearn and learn. So that will take time. So but yeah, so like if you have the habit of, so that's why we have a very good concept of learning and unlearning culturally also. Few practices like either it could be Holi, Deepavali, all these are like where you pick up certain things and then you unlearn them. So it's like that's the part. So a few practices are like that, so where whatever the learned one, so it's like you drop it and pick up new things, so that your brain continuously receives that kind of flexibility to uh, pick up new things.
Sure,
Ma'am, I
thank you.
have a question.
Yes.
Ma'am,
Ma'am,
could you
if
please
there
send
are,
us the last slide, ma'am, the reference slides?
Yeah, I will share, ma'am. Sure.
ma'am, if there is a motivation, still do you need reinforcements?
One second now. I'll share the motivation slide. I have references. Pardon, ma'am, what was the question?
I said, if there are sufficient, if you are self-motivated or if you have a motivation, do you still need reinforcements?
Yes. And see the reinforcement.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. So reinforcement motivation is, if you look at the motivation cycle, uh, so it's like you need a reinforcement in order to come, to drive all along the way, because that's the goal directed behavior. Few things, yes, the reinforcement. So both are important. Yes, ma'am.
And reinforcement as in to set it in the memory, but not really to get into the habit.
What is the difference between habit and memory?
No, sorry, I put it wrong. Reinforcement so that it comes into your memory system, but not reinforcing to get the, let's say, a child to get used to doing something, to accept it. One is memory and one is to accept doing it on a regular basis or on a certain as a part of a certain routine. But if
Could
the
be.
child is, let's say, motivated to do it, then you just need to reinforce to let it become a part of the memory, but not for the child to accept it.
That's left to the child. Again, the learner. If the learner is happy to continue with the same mode, fine. So, but reinforcer is given on what? Again, it's subject to the facilitator who uh, wants to reinforce that particular behavior. So, when being grateful, being altruistic, so reinforcement is good.
Yes.
Yeah. Anything else? Thank you. We'll be watching. Yeah, audible. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, fine. So I think I will stop the session. So it's like it's a short session. Tomorrow Sunday, so you can have in-depth whatever the few the second and third you block, second block and third block, anything which we have left. So we'll cover up that first. Then followed by we'll take up the last fourth block of the personality development chapter. So, any doubts or any queries, feel free to mail me. I will share this PPT through Hema Malini ma'am, sure she will if it is required. But anyways, like only one thing again, the PPT is good, but if you are able to create your own content on your understanding, that would be also more reinforcing for your self-efficacy. So, because as a facilitator, this is my duty to give both component as well, not only to make it mechanical. Okay. Wish you all the best.
Can
No,
we,
ma'am, please give
can
me
we
your
have your
email ID,
email?
ma'am.
Yeah.
Yeah, my email ID is.
Thank you, ma'am. A very interesting class.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ma'am, thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
there is an announcement.
Ah.
Today there is no class between 6:30 to 8:30. Nitya madam just called me.
Oh,
She's not able to take the class today and tomorrow. I will send mail also, but there is no power. My laptop is not working. Sorry.
ma'am, 6:30 to 8:30 class, then I will take.
Today?
Today?
Is it possible? Is it
Yes,
That's
madam. Yes.
fantastic.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah,
Fine.
then
ma'am,
madam
it's
will be
possible.
engaging. Yeah.
Okay. You need to bear
Thank
me with 2 more hours. So hope we can learn more.
Okay.
Yeah,
We are
that's
We would
looking
love to,
forward
ma'am.
to. We would
Ma'am, thank you
Lovely
so
talking,
much.
ma'am. Lovely class.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Ma'am, we enjoyed your class, ma'am. It is so much of information and learning. So we would love to have in the evening also. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Good day. Good day. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good day.